When people ask me how I've stayed strong and active into my late 80s, I smile a little before answering. It's not because I've got some secret formula or miracle routine. It's not even because I've avoided challenges. Because believe me, I've had plenty. I smile because the truth is simple. I've just been careful not to fall into the same traps I've seen so many others fall into after turning 65. You see, aging is something we all do. It happens quietly at first. You start to notice you can't move quite as fast as you used to. Maybe you get winded going up the stairs, or your joints ache a little more in the mornings. At first, you brush it off. You tell yourself it's just a part of getting older. And to some degree, it is. But there's a line between normal aging and unnecessary decline. And that line is shaped by our daily habits, the choices we make, and the mistakes we avoid. Now, I don't say this as someone who's had it easy. I've lived through hard times. I've seen war, financial collapse, heartbreak, and loss. I've been through illnesses and injuries, and I've had my fair share of bad habits too. But the reason I'm still able to live independently, walk with confidence, and even garden in my backyard at 88 years old is because at some point I made a decision. I decided to do things differently. I decided to pay attention to what wasn't working and, more importantly, what was. And that's what I want to share with you. I want you to imagine yourself at 88, not just sitting in a chair watching the world go by, but waking up with energy, feeling proud of your body, and staying mentally sharp enough to enjoy the conversations around you. That life is still possible, no matter what your age is today, whether you're in your 60s, 70s, or even your early 90s. It's not too late to strengthen your future. But it starts with awareness. It starts with knowing what to avoid just as much as it starts with knowing what to do. Because believe me, some of the most damaging things we do to our health after 65 are things we don't even think twice about. They creep in slowly and settle quietly into our routines. Before we know it, they're shaping the way we age, and not in a good way. In the parts ahead, I'm going to share with you 3 mistakes I've seen time and time again, things I've avoided or in some cases corrected, that I believe made all the difference in my journey to staying strong and healthy in my 80s. And I promise you, these aren't things that require a lot of money, fancy supplements, or expensive gym memberships. These are changes anyone can make. The only requirement is a willingness to try. So take a deep breath, grab yourself a glass of water, a cup of tea, and permit yourself to listen, not just to me, but to your own body as well. No matter how many candles are on your cake this year, your body is still talking to you. It still wants to serve you well. It just needs you to stop working against it. Before we dive in, I'll say this. If you're finding this conversation helpful, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel or shared this with someone else who might benefit from it. But more than that, I just want you to take what you learn here and use it. That's the biggest gift you can give yourself. And believe me, it's a gift that keeps giving. Now, let's begin by talking about the first and perhaps most common mistake I see people make after they turn 65. It's something so many of us are guilty of without even realizing it. It might start small, just a missed walk here, a skip stretch there. You tell yourself it's because your joints ache or because the weather isn't great or maybe because you're tired. And then before long, it becomes your new normal. I'm talking about the mistake of not staying active. And let me tell you, this one can sneak up on you faster than you think. The first mistake people make after 65, the one I avoided like my life depended on it, because in many ways it did, is becoming too inactive. And I get it. After a certain age, everything starts to feel a little slower. Your knees ache when you get up, your back feels stiff in the morning, and some days it's tempting to just stay in your chair, sip your coffee, and let the day roll by gently. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear. The more you sit, the harder it becomes to get back up. I've watched friends and even family members fall into this trap. They used to be on the move constantly. One friend of mine, George, was a carpenter his whole life, hands always busy, body always moving. But after retirement, he started slowing down. At first, it was just taking it easy. Then came the television marathons, the long afternoons spent reading without getting up to stretch. He'd joke and say, "Hey, I've earned this rest." And sure, he had earned some rest, but what he didn't realize was that he was resting away the very strength that had carried him through life. Before long, his knees got worse. He lost muscle in his legs. Getting out of a chair became harder. And so he stopped leaving the house as often. That led to even more sitting, more weakness, and eventually a fall that sent him to the hospital. What hurt the most wasn't the injury. It was watching a man who had once been strong and capable lose his independence so quickly, all because movement slowly left his life. Now, contrast that with my approach. I never stopped moving, not when I retired, not when I had surgeries, not even during the winters when going outside wasn't easy. I adapted. If I couldn't walk far, I walked around the house. If I felt stiff, I did stretches in bed. If I had a sore joint, I still moved the rest of my body because I knew something a lot of people forget after retirement: movement is medicine. Even now, I do some form of activity every single day. Some days it's just a 15-minute walk. Other days it's light stretching in the morning or some body weight exercises like seated squats or arm circles. Nothing fancy, nothing that requires gym equipment, but it keeps my blood flowing, my joints loose, and my muscles alive. And it's not just about keeping your body limber. Movement boosts your mood, it clears your mind, it gives you a sense of purpose when you start your day. I'm telling you, if you wake up and move your body before anything else, even just a little, you'll feel more alive. And that's something nobody talks about enough: the emotional side of staying active. You see, it's easy to feel like your best years are behind you once you start slowing down. But I've found that when I move, when I stretch, walk, bend, or lift something, I'm reminded that this body of mine still works. It still wants to move. It just needs me to show up for it. I also pay close attention to balance. If you're over 65, maintaining your balance becomes critical. A single fall can change everything. So I practice standing on one foot while holding onto the counter. I walk heel to toe down my hallway. These little habits train my body to stay steady. And for those reading this thinking, well, I've already slowed down, it's probably too late for me, I'm here to tell you it's not. You can always begin again. Start with something as simple as standing up once every hour, walking to the kitchen, and then sitting back down. That alone will wake your muscles up. Then build from there. Add 5-minute walks, light stretches, chair exercises. Doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to happen, because the worst thing you can do after 65 is let your muscles shrink without a fight. Let your joints stiffen without care. Let your energy slip away without trying to reclaim it. I fought for every step I take today, and I'm proud of it. You can do the same. So if you're in your 60s, 70s, or even 80s and beyond, and you've fallen into the trap of too much rest, too much sitting, too many excuses, too much, I'll do it tomorrow, let today be the day that changes. Move your body. Move it for 5 minutes. Move it for your future. Move it for the independence you want to keep. Because once you lose your mobility, everything else becomes harder. And once you get it back, everything becomes possible again. The second mistake I see far too many people make after turning 65, and one that I've personally worked hard to avoid, is neglecting nutrition. Now, before you roll your eyes or say, oh no, not another talk about vegetables, hear me out, because I'm not about to tell you to count every calorie or live on kale smoothies. That's not realistic, especially when you've lived through decades of real food, home cooking, and comfort meals. I believe food should still be enjoyable, but after 65, it needs to also be intentional. The truth is, your body changes, your metabolism slows down, your digestive system doesn't process food as efficiently as it used to, your appetite might shrink, and worst of all, the way your body absorbs nutrients becomes weaker. What that means is simple. Even if you're eating the same things you always have, your body may no longer be getting what it needs to thrive. I've known many people, strong, hardworking folks, who began to struggle with weakness, fatigue, or illness, all while thinking they were eating fine. But when you look closer, you'll see that what we think of as normal meals are often lacking in the things our bodies crave the most as we age: protein, fiber, vitamins, and hydration. Let me share a bit of my routine with you. Every morning, I start with a glass of water. That might sound boring, but after a night of sleep, your body wakes up dehydrated. A cup of coffee might give you a jolt, but it won't hydrate you. So I drink water first. Then I eat something light but balanced, maybe oatmeal with berries or a slice of whole grain toast with peanut butter and a banana. I make sure I get fiber, natural energy, and a little protein to start the day. Lunch is where I usually get my greens in: spinach, kale, maybe a bit of broccoli. Sometimes I'll toss it into a soup, other days into a stir fry, and with that, a source of protein: chicken, eggs, beans, or fish. The older I got, the more I realized that protein wasn't just for athletes, it's for everyone, especially after 65. Without enough protein, your body starts eating away at your muscle mass. And when you lose muscle, you lose strength, you lose balance, you lose the ability to do things for yourself. I also make sure I don't skip meals. That's a sneaky mistake many older folks make. You might not feel hungry, so you skip breakfast. Then you snack on crackers later and maybe nibble something small at dinner. But your body doesn't forget. It keeps a scorecard, and day by day, it starts to feel more sluggish, more tired, and more frail. You don't need to eat large meals, but you do need to eat nutrient dense meals, things that fuel your body with what it needs, not just what tastes good or is easy to prepare. And that leads me to another issue: processed foods. Now, I understand why some people rely on microwave dinners or packaged snacks. They're quick, they were cheap, they require little effort. But I'll be honest, they're also full of sodium, preservatives, and empty calories. These foods don't nourish your body, they slowly chip away at your energy and health. One of the best things I ever did for my long term health was to stop eating so many of those quick meals. I went back to the basics: real food, fresh ingredients. It doesn't have to be fancy. Even a simple vegetable soup can give your body more nourishment than most frozen dinners. And let's not forget about hydration. I know so many people in their 70s and 80s who walk around dehydrated without realizing it. They're dizzy, their skin feels dry, they're tired, and they think it's just age, but half the time they just need a glass of water. Our sense of thirst dulls as we age. We forget to drink. Dehydration can lead to headaches, confusion, and even kidney trouble. I always keep a glass of water nearby, and if I'm feeling tired for no reason, I drink before I do anything else. Now, listen, I'm not saying you need to become a health nut overnight, but if you're over 65 and you're feeling weaker, more tired, or more forgetful than usual, don't assume it's just aging. Look at your plate. Ask yourself, am I giving my body the fuel it needs to keep working for me? Because here's the truth: your body still wants to be strong, it still wants to serve you. But it can't do that if it's running on fumes. It needs real fuel. And once you start giving it what it needs, you'll feel the difference, not just in your energy, but in your mood, your strength, and even your clarity of thought. You wouldn't drive a car for 20 years without changing the oil. So why would you expect your body to keep running without the right maintenance? The third mistake that I've seen far too many people make after 65 is letting their mental and emotional health fall by the wayside. You see, when we talk about aging, we often focus only on the physical changes: aches in our joints, slower reflexes, tired muscles. But what we don't talk about enough is what happens in our hearts and our minds as the years go by. Let me tell you something I've learned over the decades: loneliness can be just as dangerous as a bad diet or a sedentary lifestyle. It sneaks up on you, especially in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Friends move away or pass on, family members get busy with their own lives, your days get quieter, and before you know it, you find yourself spending more and more time alone with your thoughts, with your worries, with memories that don't always bring peace. And if you're not careful, that loneliness can turn into sadness. That sadness can deepen into something heavier, and all of a sudden, you're no longer living, you're just passing the time. That's not the kind of aging I ever wanted for myself. So I made a decision long ago that I would not allow myself to disappear into solitude. I would stay engaged, stay curious, and keep showing up for life, even on the hard days. One of the best ways I've done that is by staying connected to others. I don't need a huge group of friends. I just need a few good ones. And I work hard to nurture those relationships. I call people, I invite them over for coffee, I show up to community events, even if I don't feel like it, because once I'm there, I never regret it. People bring life, conversation brings perspective, laughter heals more than most medicines. Now, I know it's not always easy. As we get older, it can feel like our world is shrinking, but that's all the more reason to reach out, not withdraw. If you're in your 70s, 80s, or 90s and you've started spending most days alone, ask yourself, when was the last time I had a good laugh, a real conversation, a walk with a friend? If it's been a while, let that be your sign to change something. Call someone, join a group, volunteer, attend a local class, find a way to be around others. Even just once a week, it makes a world of difference. And just as important as connecting with others is staying mentally active. Your brain is a muscle, and just like every other muscle in your body, if you don't use it, you start to lose it. So I read, I do crossword puzzles, I write letters, I ask questions, I stay curious, I try to learn something new every day, even if it's small. That habit keeps me sharp. It keeps me feeling young in spirit, even if my body is aging. And let's not forget about managing stress. People think stress is only for young folks, those juggling jobs and raising families, but older adults carry stress too. Health worries, financial concerns, grief, change, it all adds up. And if you're not managing that stress, it builds. It steals your peace. It affects your sleep, your appetite, your heart, your immune system. I've seen stress turn healthy people sick and vibrant spirits dull. That's why I take time every day, even just 10 minutes to breathe, to reflect, to be still. I sit on my porch, close my eyes, and let the sun hit my face. I pray, I meditate. I listen to music that makes me feel something. These moments are not luxuries, they're necessities. Because here's the truth, your emotional well being is the foundation that supports everything else. Without it, you'll struggle to eat right and lose the motivation to exercise. You'll stop reaching out to people. But when you're emotionally strong, you want to take care of yourself. You want to move. You want to live fully. And that desire, that spark, it's what keeps you going. So if you've found yourself feeling low, isolated, or numb lately, don't brush it off. Don't say, I'm just getting old. No, you deserve to feel joy, peace, and purpose at every stage of life. And it's never too late to go after those things. Take care of your emotional world, nurture it like a garden, pull out the weeds, plant something new, and give it the light it needs to grow. When I tell people I'm 88 years old and still living strong, sharp, and independent, they often give me the same look, half surprise, half curiosity. Some ask if it's genetics. Others assume I must have had an easy life. But let me tell you the truth. I've had my share of struggles. I've lived through wars, seen loved ones pass, worked long hours, and faced illness. I've known loss, grief, setbacks, and the aches that come with a body that's seen nearly 9 decades of life. But despite it all, or maybe because of it all, I made a choice. I chose to live, to keep learning, growing, caring for myself, and refusing to give up. And the reason I'm still strong at 88 is not because I discovered some secret fountain of youth. It's because I avoided the common traps that so many people fall into after 65, the mistakes that slowly chip away at your energy, your independence, your joy. We've talked about them already. Letting your body go still, ignoring your nutrition, neglecting your mental and emotional health. These three things, if you let them slide, don't just lead to decline, they steal your life from you inch by inch. At first, it's subtle. You feel a little more tired than usual. You lose your appetite here and there. Maybe you stop going out as much. Maybe you find yourself saying, I'm too old for that more than you used to. But then slowly, these small changes turn into something bigger. You stop moving altogether. Your meals become whatever's quick and easy. Your days become quieter, lonelier. You feel like you're shrinking, not in body, but in spirit. That's what I've seen happen to too many of my friends, neighbors, and even family members. And that's what I refuse to let happen to me. Because I realize something, aging is not the enemy. Giving up is. You see, there's a lie out there that says once you reach a certain age, whether it's your 70s, 80s, or even 90s, your best days are behind you. You're supposed to just sit back, slow down, and fade into the background. But I don't believe that. I never have. And I'm living proof that it's simply not true. At 88, I still wake up with a purpose. I take walks. I laugh with friends. I eat real food. I water my plants, read the newspaper, stretch my body, and smile at strangers. And you know what? I still make plans for tomorrow because I have tomorrow, and so do you. Avoiding those three mistakes hasn't just kept me physically strong, it's given me something even better: the ability to enjoy life fully, right where I am. Do you know what it's like to walk into your kitchen and cook a healthy breakfast for yourself? Not because you have to, but because you can. To step outside and breathe in fresh air without feeling pain in your knees or tightness in your chest. To carry your groceries, remember your neighbor's name, or dance a little when your favorite song comes on. These are the small, everyday joys that aging can either steal or enhance, depending on the choices you make. And here's something else I want you to hear loud and clear. It's never too late. You could be 75, 82, or 91 and still decide to make a change, still decide to move more, eat better, and care for your mind. Your body is always listening. It may be slower than it once was, but it still responds. It still wants to be cared for. I've seen people in their late 80s who started stretching for the first time and found their back pain eased up. I'd watch friends who were once depressed come alive again after joining a walking group or reconnecting with an old friend. I've seen widows and widowers who thought their best years were over begin volunteering and suddenly find a whole new chapter of purpose and fulfillment. So, if you're reading this and thinking, well, it's too late for me, let me gently stop you right there. It's not too late, not for movement, not for better food, not for joy, not for connection, not for life. You just have to take that first step and then the next one and the one after that. And let me say something important here before we reach the final part of this message. If you're someone who's already doing these things, who's walking, eating well, staying mentally active, and staying connected, then celebrate that. Be proud because you're investing in your future one decision at a time. And if you're someone who's struggling with one or more of these things, don't be ashamed. Don't beat yourself up. Just decide today to begin again. Maybe you could go for a walk tomorrow morning. Maybe you cook yourself a nourishing meal. Maybe you call a friend you haven't spoken to in months. That's all it takes to start changing the course of your health and happiness. Before we move into the final part, I want to say thank you for sticking with me this far. I hope my story and these reflections have reminded you that you're not powerless in aging. You're more powerful than you know. And if you've found any value in this message, if it's inspired you, challenged you, or simply made you feel seen, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on more stories and tips for living your best life at any age. At this point in my life, 88 years young, I've learned that growing old isn't just about getting through each day. It's about how you live those days. It's about showing up, take care of yourself, saying yes to what matters and no to what doesn't. It's about honoring the time you've been given. Aging, you see, is not the beginning of the end. It's just a new chapter, a slower one maybe, a wiser one, but a chapter that can still be just as full of laughter, love, purpose, growth, and strength. And let's be clear, I didn't make it to 88 by being perfect. I've made mistakes. I've had setbacks. There were years where I didn't eat well. There were months when I didn't move enough. There were days when my mental health dipped and I didn't even realize it. But what kept me going, what kept me strong was that I didn't give up. That's what I want you to remember. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going. The three mistakes I talked about, neglecting your physical health, your nutrition, and your mental well-being, are the most common ways we unintentionally cut our vitality short. They sneak up on us, and the older we get, the easier it becomes to let them in. But avoiding them, it's not about being superhuman. It's about choosing to care enough for yourself to keep trying. Every time you move your body, even when you don't feel like it, you're casting a vote for your future strength. Every healthy meal you prepare and every vegetable you eat is your body's reminder that it's still worth fueling. Every time you call a friend, read a book, smile at a stranger, or choose peace over worry, you're feeding your soul in ways that medicine can't replicate. And listen, I know it's not always easy. Some days you'll wake up feeling tired. Maybe your knees ache. Maybe the world feels too quiet. Maybe you'll be tempted to say, what's the point? But I promise you, there is a point. There is always a point. The point is you. You matter. You're still here. And that means your story isn't over yet. Whether you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or beyond, you still have chapters left to write. You still have people to love, memories to make, meals to cook, sunrises to see, songs to hum, and days to savor. Don't let old habits, or worse, old doubts rob you of that. So if you're over 65 and reading this, maybe even wondering whether any of this applies to you, let me say this. Yes, it does. It applies to you. It applies to anyone who wants to stay strong, independent, and joyful in their later years. You are never too old to begin again, never too old to change your habits, never too old to surprise yourself. Start where you are. Take a walk, make a fresh salad, call an old friend, open a book, learn something new, water your plants, stretch your body, breathe deeply, forgive yourself for the years you weren't paying attention, and decide right now to move forward with care, intention, and hope. I'm 88 and I still do those things, not because I have to, but because I get to, because I'm still alive, still kicking, still grateful, and you can be too. Now, before I sign off, let me leave you with one last thought. Aging is a privilege. Not everyone gets the gift of growing older. If you've made it to this stage of life, celebrate that, protect that, and make it count. You deserve to feel good in your body. You deserve peace in your mind. You deserve joy in your heart, and you absolutely deserve to live your final decades feeling strong, free, and full of life. If this message meant something to you, if it sparked something or made you pause and reflect, then I invite you to pass it on. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos and stories to help you live your best, strongest life, no matter your age. Until next time, my friend, take care of yourself. You've got this. I'll see you in the next video.